Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I have Anna Bosquet. Did I pronounce properly? Bosquet.
It's actually Bosquet.
Okay.
And my first name is pronounced Anna.
Anna. Okay. Good
No
reason.
worries. I actually should have just spoken up earlier about that. Anna is basically my second name. So I
Okay.
reply to both.
Well, I want to be clear and understanding. So we have Anna Bosquet, my guest, who is the creator of the Celestial Influence altar cards. I had to clarify we were talking more about oracle decks or an oracle set, but Anna makes reference that this is an altar card set. This is the guidebook that comes with the set. You can buy right now. What's the status?
Yeah, right now, what I have available is the handmade boxes. And these are definitely more expensive than the simple sets that are unfortunately sold out. I am going to be making a second edition, but it'll probably not be out until next year. So
Okay. Okay. Any changes with the second edition? Do you have any plans, or are we going to keep it the same
I'm
form?
going to refine it a little bit more. When I made this, it was years ago, and I've developed a lot more wisdom since then. And I would like to infuse what I've learned since then into this project. But all the artwork will stay the same. It's perfect as it is.
Now, the dimension of the cards, we're just going to jump right into the deck so people can see. I have to move the cards back because if I go close, it's going to crop off.
Sure.
What's the dimension? What is the actual size of the
Yeah,
card?
they're 3.5 by 7.5 inches. I really wanted them to be tall. I wanted them to almost be able to reach the heavens symbolically, like a cathedral. And
Okay.
because they're for your altar, I just felt like that was very, very fitting. You go to your altar to worship the divine, and that's what I wanted to accomplish with these cards.
Yeah. Very beautiful. And I've always leaned more towards larger size decks, especially when there's a lot of detail and the energy and the coloring of the images are so nice. So you have paintings of each of these?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I have all of the originals still. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that.
Oh, have you done an art show or you have plans?
Not with those specific images. I recently had an art show with my alchemy series that I am turning into a deck. Although I just had 7 core images to represent the 7 phases of alchemy at that time. But I'm working to fill out that deck right now. It's really exciting.
I'm just going to show a few of the cards right here. Very, very earthy, very connected to nature. Um,
Mhm.
Anna and I were speaking before going live that she spent some time on on a farm doing work there. Is it safe to say that that was a big influence, or you've always had this connection to nature, but it became more apparent when working in that environment?
Um, my connection with nature really stems back to childhood, but it really flourished when I was about 13 years old, and I started to feel very, um, very aware of what was going on in our culture, and that really solidified my connection with the natural world. I wanted to represent them and speak for them, and I was having a lot of just incredible divine encounters with certain trees and landscapes and bodies of water. And that definitely became reflected in my artwork. So I was always creating art, but around that time, my work and this connection with the natural world was really just coming into this beautiful union.
Mhm.
And yeah, you can still feel that even through the more esoteric work that I'm doing now. I feel like that connection is so foundational to everything that I do in my life. So
So let's touch on that. You had a shift. So there, you already felt, you already had this connection with nature, physically, spiritually, in all its depths, emotionally. But then it sounds like there was an awakening. There was something that came, not, I shouldn't say something, but there was a realization that this was going in a different direction or it was moving more deeper. Maybe you can, not maybe, could you discuss this a little bit with us?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I already had this very strong foundation with the earth, and I started to just feel like something else was missing from the equation. It was like it was almost, oh, I'm sorry, my kitty is gonna probably be around.
That's
Oh, dodged her.
animals are welcome.
Okay. Um, yeah, so I had this strong foundation, but yes, something was really missing. It was it felt like half of me was fulfilled and the other half was kind of um lost. And I started getting into astrology and this language that was very mythopoeic and um, just had a lot of depth and had a very strong connection to the psyche. That
Mm,
really, really spoke to me.
yeah.
I always felt very nourished, like physically and in like my nervous system by the earth. But there was something more cerebral, I suppose, that was not being fulfilled just by that connection alone. So yeah, when I started studying astrology, it was under my teacher that I still study under. Her name is Rachel Capurso, and she is behind Aeolian Heart Astrology. If anybody is familiar with her work, she's amazing. But I started to take planetary magic classes, and that's how this deck came into being, is because I wanted a visual on my
Mhm.
altar while I was in ritual. Yeah.
So when I received this deck, um, I'm listening to everything that you're saying, but when as I'm showing these cards to viewers, there's I can't even put it into words, Anna. There's just because I'm exploring astrology and there's such a there's a soulfulness, that's the word. There's a soulfulness when it comes to each of these cards. Now, you may not see it for those who are watching. These cards are aligned with the planets and the signs. And so here, this card is representing Libra, which we can see. Okay, we have the heart and the feather for weighing the truth and the environment. That this is beautiful.
Mm.
Um, and then this one kind of threw me for a loop. It's Scorpio, and it's like where I'm not trying to put you right in front of everything, but how would you attribute Scorpio in this here with this?
Well, to me,
Um,
Scorpio is the sign of alchemy and is often connected to the raven because of that. The raven is the psychopomp that's able to travel between the underworld and the overworld and deliver messages. And I really wanted to also acknowledge the feeling of alchemy that happens during eclipses. So
yeah,
that is why you'll see an eclipse in that image.
exactly.
Um, yeah, it's like the light of consciousness is being
Okay.
covered by um, the unconscious, the moon, right?
Yeah. You're
And
I'm sorry, go on.
no, that's okay. Go ahead.
Uh, the more you speak, the more I'm getting a stronger connection to these cards because you're filling in the blanks for for some of the things that I was like, what is it here that I'm feeling with these cards? You're doing for me personally, Anna, you're doing, for me, interpreting these cards, again, at a soulful level. You're doing astrology not by the charts or anything like this. You're taking the energy of the sign and you're putting it in its environment. And I like how you are beginning to incorporate alchemy. We have rose. I love roses, but we have the rose representing the symbols, the alchemical energy. We have earth, air, fire, water. The lotus, how everything just fans out, how everything moves and transforms and oscillates. There is such a movement, but this is very deep seated. This goes really deep. So I appreciate you talking more about this deck, because I think when people see this, they'll find a connection. They'll feel that there is something about this deck, but what is it? And you also have the color schemes here. This definitely dealing with the psychic, the intuitive energy. We have the purples, we have the darker side, but we also have the spiritual that are happening.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, really the power of symbols is what is most important to me in my work. I like to stack corresponding symbols together to create a very potent experience. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I really have been seeing my work as almost a two-dimensional altar, but it's not limited by physical materials and like my ability to access physical materials. It's completely wide open to my imagination and to my lived experience. I don't only weave in traditional symbols. I like to weave in personal associations with these entities that I'm drawing. And yeah, there's something very much related to creating a powerful altar in that way. I feel like if you're going to create an altar, it needs to have some kind of element to it that creates emotion within you. And that's only really accomplished through your personal associations. So if you're creating an ancestral altar, for example, you don't want to just put, things about your ancestor on your altar. You want to have like memories that you have with them represented there, or
Things that represent
so
them.
right, yeah. So I've been seeing my artwork in that lens lately, and it feels very, I don't know, just more magical.
This could be an obvious answer. Are the ancestors guiding you with this in the creation of your artwork, or certain kinds of art pieces?
I have chosen ancestors that have been guiding me. One of them is Lady Frida Harris, who created the Thoth Tarot deck. Actually, I have like a picture of her on my desk that I'm looking at right now. Her work has been really influential in my artistic endeavors. But it's interesting because I feel like, I didn't even know about her work until after I started creating these kinds of images, and I was seeing this overlap that was so rich and
Yeah.
inspiring. And so I knew that she had a lot to teach me from there. And she has taught me a lot.
There's a comment that I'd like you to see, and this is in reference to.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that
That's
bizarre?
fascinating. I never even saw that before. I love it.
And if you stop for a second, I'm just going to go a little bit with what she was saying. This can also be a uterus. I
Oh,
just saw this. As soon as she said woman's breast and she said the scales, I looked, and it's just like, oh,
that's
it's wonderful.
fascinating.
It's wonderful
It
when you get
is.
someone's different perspective of a piece of art. It's like, oh, you see that, but look what I see.
Hmm.
It takes a completely different meaning.
It really does. It's interesting because I think Libra as an archetype is actually more associated with masculine principles, but I've always seen it to be a very feminine sign.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
um,
because of the association with Venus, um,
sure.
and dealing with beauty, but also relationships. Um, and so, but this is Anna's take. This is her perspective. I'm I'm curious when you do the second edition of this deck, um, which images may be revised, which ones may be shifted a little bit. You don't have to answer it because you need to get to that place. But I'm just curious because when people do revisions of decks, we do see maybe a shift in color. There could be a color palette outside of maybe the physical design of the deck. Maybe they make them smaller or whatnot. But I'm always curious to see what the next incarnation of a deck that's already been produced, what changes are going to come in. Um, Try not to
Mm.
change too much, Anna.
Yeah,
It feels
I
good.
honestly, I don't know that I would change anything. I feel like all those pieces came out of me in the way that those archetypes wanted to be represented by me.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, we can talk about that more, but before every piece that I started, I I have a process of going to the forest. That's just kind of what I need to do in order to get visions and things like that, and to be open to the channels. But I'd always go to the forest before a piece, and I would invoke all the elements, but I would specifically invoke the element that corresponded to the archetype I was working on. And I would just start channeling, and even if what was coming out verbally was silly or like didn't seem to resonate at all with, with this archetype, there's always something that happened. Some kind of click would transpire and I'd receive a vision. And then I'd go home and just like write that vision down or sketch it out. Um, and I just feel like that those moments were so powerful. I wouldn't actually feel like changing what came out of them.
Yeah.
Um, but I could see, doing a different rendition of all of these archetypes from my lens that I currently have of them. I just feel like this set is really complete as it is. So
Yeah.
it would really just be the book that I might enhance.
Okay.
I'd actually like to explore teaching more about planetary magic in the book. I have a lot of like suggestions as to how to work with these archetypes magically, and the table of correspondence is really helpful too.
Yeah.
But I think that I could get deeper into the planetary magic and how that works. Yeah.
It speaks to you. It definitely speaks to you, just the way that you're talking about it, because it feels like this is the path that you are called to be on, but also for you to learn, but also to express it and communicate it out to people through your art.
Mhm.
Um, and this is going to be wonderful to see your journey in the coming years. What's going to shape shift, what's going to be released, and what's going to be coming into that space. Um, and I'm looking here. I'm trying to find Pluto because this card of Pluto
Mm.
um, here. I have to bear with me, everyone, because this card is, I like it very much. Oh, here we
I'll
go.
get back to you.
I separated the deck. So those are the 12 signs, and then the planets.
I was considering not including the transpersonal planets,
Yeah.
but they like really wanted to be a part of it. So
The next deck,
I didn't.
right? Maybe in the next one. Um,
Yeah.
I'm going to show the packaging here because I have not done a video of this, of the, I keep saying, well, deck altar card set. So this is the packaging. Okay. You see celestial influence. And then the book. And this self-published, correct? You did everything.
It is self-published, yeah.
Have you had any outside not outside influence, outside callings from publishers? Has there been anyone who's approached you?
I was approached by US Games and Llewellyn,
Okay.
and then Red Feather just last fall. I've kind of concluded that I feel really good about self-publishing.
Okay. Okay.
The original goal was really to get as many of these decks out into as many magical hands as they could reach, because I know that there's a healing quality to what I do, and I really want to share that with the world. However, I feel more than ever that it's really important for me to remain a very sovereign artist. I want to work on what I want to work on at any moment.
Yeah.
I just want to like keep the natural inspiration flowing without not really having to answer to anybody or feel limited by certain guidelines and things of that nature. So that's where I'm at with it.
It's just going to be more work. That's the other thing, but at least it's the work that you have control of. And
Right.
this is your baby. This is what your creation.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe down the line, because it'd be wonderful to have a lot more people see this. When I go to do readings today at the shop that I work at, I'm going to bring these cards with me. And hopefully they'll attract the attention of people who are coming in or people that I'm reading for. But they're very potent, and they're not difficult to follow. There's detail, but you're not filling up the space. It's not each of the cards I fill here. They have the information that you need, but it's not overly busy. Okay, so these are the planets. These are the planetary cards that I'm showing. So here we have the sun.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in order.
The sun card is an example of using a personal association because that tree in the center is a red oak tree. And red oaks are actually traditionally corresponding to Mars, not the sun. But I was drawing from this experience that lasted many years. I would go to this particular red oak tree, who must be like 400 years old and is humongous. And I would climb up her branches to the center and feel like I was in this dome of safety and protection. But more than that, she inspired me in so many ways. And every day at sunset, I would be in that tree. So um between like the sense of like energy that she gave me, this like inspiration and creative insight, and also just absorbing the sun's rays in a very intentional way. I was like worshiping the sun in that tree. I associate red oak trees with the sun. And yeah, and she just embodies this like tree of life energy, which
Yeah.
is so very, it's solar to me.
I'm
Life.
looking I'm looking here. So Anna,
Mhm.
are you going through the stages of the seasons?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, in the
good.
tree and in the foreground, in the
Yeah.
background,
Okay.
the landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the seasons and the sun are inextricably linked, and I hadn't really seen any kind of imagery around that in other solar interpretations.
Mm.
But that was what wanted to come through the most when I was communing with the sun was how the quality of the sun really just like changes our entire experience. And yeah, through the four seasons, we are experiencing different parts of ourselves coming out to the surface as well. And the sun is a symbol of the self.
Yeah. And it's the vitality, it's what needed. It's the energy that's needed for anything floral. Trees,
Mhm.
flowers, grass, it needs that energy because of the vitamins. It's a healing. The sun is very healing, but it is also purging, just like Mars. Mars
Mhm.
can be healing, but it's in a very extreme way. Um, and when I saw this, I just noticed this, like, wait a second, she's going through the stages of the growth and the falling of the tree, like the leaves not being fully bloomed. We see the first stage here for spring, and then summer, and then we got fall. We can maybe say this is winter here.
The very top is supposed to be spring.
Is it?
The bottom is the summer. Yeah. So
Oh,
it's kind of,
I read
yeah,
it
from
differently.
fullness into like new light.
Okay. I read it differently. That's still amazing. That's still fine. Wow. Okay, let me show you this comment here. There we go.
Pluto went into Aquarius, a sudden burst of creation, creative inspiration did not dominate.
Ah,
I love that so much. Yeah, that day was incredibly potent for me too. That whole week, I felt a huge burst of inspiration too. I actually decided to like launch a new facet of my business, which is very service oriented, whereas before I was kind of hiding behind my art and my words, my written words. And yeah, as soon as that transit happened, it was like I just needed to like explore a whole new side of myself
yeah,
and my creativity. So I totally resonate with that experience too.
this is Pluto.
Yes, there it is.
So we have the volcano, and then we have,
Passion flower.
yes, it's like that what's hidden. What's hidden is what our potential is. Um, Pluto is very revealing, like what soul alchemy and what Anna have been experiencing. I've been experiencing similar, but mine is coming this this shift. Whoops, this whole shift that I've been experiencing has been more of purging, and it's been quite overwhelming. But
Mhm.
I'm working through it because it's going to open up things, and I know what the outcome can be if I just allow the energy to do what it needs to do. Don't fight it. Don't try to change it. Just go with it, and just trust that everything's going to be okay. I keep saying that
Yeah.
to myself. So the Pluto in Aquarius is obviously affecting people in many different ways, from creatively, but also to um, time to like let's start making some shifts. We really need to move ahead. So I
Yeah.
like that's why I had to bring out this volcano uh, imagery of Pluto because that's sort of how it's feeling right now for me. Uh,
Mm.
a lot of
Yeah, I know. I resonate with that too. Even though there's this huge creative burst, there's also revisiting of
yeah,
old stuff and karma. And it's really hard.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's really hard. I actually decided to enter into like a new phase of the alchemical process during this time. So I just got out of calcination, which is like the burning down of your fears and the stories that have kept you safe in the past and the stories that you've maybe even identified with in the past, burning those away so that you can really release the true essence that's underneath. And yeah, I won't get into the details, but yeah, a an old part of myself that I've been kind of just like keeping underground because it's scary. Definitely rose to the surface, and what I realized now that I'm just more aware than I was when that old part of me was kind of running the show is that um, there's an incredible shift that happens whenever we decide to look at things from a broader time span, to zoom out of our subjective experience and really take in the objective potential.
Yes,
And
I agree.
yeah, that perspective was really my anchor through that experience. And I'm now on the other side of it, thankfully. But it really helped me to understand that there was a lot of medicine to be unlocked from that old part of me rising to the surface and me facing her, head on. um, and yeah, that's what alchemy is all about, is unleashing the medicine. That's what Pluto's all about, even though it hurts, it's painful. He's there to help you release the gold.
It's the stronger planets of Saturn, the ones that people are like, oh, my Saturn return, oh my God, and Pluto. Those two seem to be the thorn in the side for a lot of people, because it is facing things, it is getting things in a real perspective. Saturn, holding the element of earth, Pluto of fire. Um, Saturn right now, also in Aquarius, where it's comfortably placed, it's its ruler, um, has been interesting. I have no Aquarius, but there is so much to learn when you look at your chart, and you may not have some of these signs, and planets in particular houses, or not at all. There is still something that we can make reference from. It's something for us to be aware of. It's something for us to listen. It may not impact us as much because it's not directly in our sign, but it is a reminder for us to look at these things. But when your return does happen, for people to for individuals to be open to this, like I said, don't fight any of this energy. Everything happens for a reason. Okay, we're put on this plane, this universe, for a specific reason. Some people will never find out what it is because they make changes in their lives, and they're not really allowing where their true direction should be. And me personally, that's where I am right now. I'm letting go, and it is frightening of some things and not knowing what's going to happen. Um, but I was going to say you only live once, but some people think no, I live many lifetimes over. But in this plane, physical plane, yes, we may live once. So I think this is um, really important to embrace these shifts that are happening astrologically, spiritually, and we have these tools. We have cards, we have all forms of practice, um, and beliefs and ways to work through these things. Um, but we never know if we don't open up ourselves. And so,
Mhm.
seeing this deck here, it's you're also sharing part of your experience in this deck too. You know that, Anna. It's you kind of you yeah, you almost end up being a little vulnerable when it comes to releasing yourself and putting it into your art. You're not saying directly, but me intuitively, I can feel Anna.
Hmm.
People may
That's
not
so sweet.
understand that, but I can feel uh, the influences that she's gone through. Okay. I'm not psychic, it's just what I feel.
Sure.
Here's Mars. Not too bad, right? See, Mars isn't too frightening. It's powerful, and that's what we're looking at here.
Yes, exactly.
When working with the planets and the signs, Anna, what are some of the cards that you felt you can naturally create? And what were some of the cards that were a challenge to you?
So it's interesting. I remember doing all the zodiac signs of the people in my life that were very like close to me, really fluidly. One of them was Taurus, which is my stepson's sign, and he was just a little boy at that time, and he was just such a Taurus. Just like wanting sweet things, all the luxuries of life, hot baths all the time, and also just like connecting with the earth and just such a pure and just fluid way. It was so beautiful to see. Um, and I also actually with that card in particular, I just have a funny little story. Um, the day I started on that card, I learned that my husband's soul card is the Hierophant. And I was just thinking about how River, my stepson, would just like, I mean, he would just like sit at the feet of my husband, just like listening to what he was saying with such like reverence and such like knowing that it was truth. And it was just, I just have this like vision so clearly in my mind. And that's really what I was actually illustrating in the Taurus card was like these bowls. That card is very
Yes.
tied to the Hierophant. The two bowls just like looking at this pentacle, which is the symbol of the earth, and the scepter of the Hierophant is in the center, and yeah, things of that nature just felt so just fun to infuse into the card deck.
And
Um,
it's like they look like they're young, like
yeah,
they're
right.
baby bulls.
They are. They totally are.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah. And
yeah.
then this big like apple tree is just kind of this like symbol of femininity and
Mhm.
sweetness.
Yeah.
Um and wisdom. Yeah. So yeah, that card was really easy. The Libra card was easy. I'm a Libra. That just felt just totally fluid for me. Sagittarius is my stepdaughter's sign. That one felt really fluid. The one that was really challenging was Gemini, actually. And Gemini is my descendant. And it's interesting because I have a lot of Geminis in my life. I like attract them like crazy and I love them. But for whatever reason, I had a really hard time with that card. And I think it is because the qualities of Gemini do not come that naturally to me. I like to draw them into my life because I want to learn from them.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but those qualities I had not been intentionally tapping into at all, really. And after that card was made, I actually decided I needed to work with Gemini
Yeah.
really intimately. So that is the archetype that I've worked with the most since then.
I
And it
think,
has unlocked this quality that is foreign to me before.
well, I think you said your stepdaughter Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the opposing sign for Sagittarius is Gemini. Um, and so I think, am I not, is the Gemini card right in front of me? I think because of the way it's depicted.
I actually have it out right now because it is my
Okay.
card that I've been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on this and I thought it was Capricorn. It's like, no, it's not Capricorn because it's right here.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a deer. And deers are traditionally corresponding to Gemini. They have this like
Really?
telepathic quality. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Okay.
are very telepathically linked when they are together. And yeah, just like the simplest little like sign of danger, and they're all of them are off running, and it's not necessarily because all of them picked up on it. It's
Yeah.
because they're like telepathically sharing the message of danger. Yeah, I
Very
think that
good.
that's really fascinating.
Wow. I would have never thought deer for Gemini at all because
I
of
know.
the element association that I have with the astrological signs. I would, I thought Capricorn, but it's like, no, 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 Capricorn's right here. Because we would the air element, so I could see this part for Gemini
Sure.
right there. But that's great. That is good to know. Why are these poppies?
Those are poppies in the forefront, and Monarda is the purple flowers.
Minarda?
Um, yeah, it's also known as, I think it's like bee flower or something. They have a very strong connection to the bees,
Okay.
um, which are pollinators, very Gemini-esque.
Okay.
But yeah, California poppies, particularly the orange poppies,
Yeah.
are correlated to Gemini.
So I want to see. So with each, I know I moved away from the planetary cards to the signs again. Um, but no, they're in the plants as well. So you do put floral, and it is stated in the book, you do put floral associations for each of the signs and the planets, correct?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay. And they don't necessarily have to be associated with the element, right?
No,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, it's really interesting when you get deep into these things. Correspondences start to kind of overlap with other entities, and yeah, at some point you gotta just decide what's true to you.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. It's like I have the association. I work so much with the element. It's like, okay, I would have never thought that. But I want to hear, I want to hear what the creator has to say in relation to that,
Sure.
in relation to the element, not the way that we would normally associate it with. Um, this one, another one,
Yeah, the Venus card. I love that one too.
yeah, with the rose.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the ways that I started drawing these images is like the symbolic meaning behind them didn't actually come until after they were already drawn. And so for that one, for example, I realized that these two flowers are actually like facing away from each other, which, wouldn't
Yeah,
typically be a symbol of like loving embrace, right? But I realized at the time that I was creating that card, I was really studying relationship dynamics and really striving for more interdependent relationship dynamics. And so it dawned on me that yes, they are interwoven and just like they love each other so much, but they are looking away from each other
mhm,
because they are independent people. They're
yes,
independent of each other. They have their own purpose. They are facing, different directions.
yeah,
And that doesn't mean that they can't still be intertwined and moving through life together.
yeah,
So things like that were coming up after I created these images that really just made them all the more magical.
yeah. No, most definitely. And the rose is very supportive. It's a very strong flower, healing. Um, and also like beneath here, we're seeing the potential, we're seeing the growth that's coming from this support. This is just my
Mhm.
interpretation. Um, that's coming from the support. So we're seeing it going both ways with the rose, and the energy and the love and the caring is fueling down to these areas here to create more of the support, to keep the energy of the rose blooming and healthy. Yeah, this one I like. I like them all. So I want to. Okay, so here, Jupiter,
For sure.
and I like the dandelion and mushrooms.
No, those are just dandelions. They're the little like seed puffs on either side of the crown there.
Oh, the yellow.
And
Are these mushrooms?
the yellow, those are dandelion flowers.
Okay,
And then I have bluebells that are kind of making a V.
I see it.
Yeah. Bluebells to me are very like royal.
And you have lightning.
Something
You have the lightning coming.
and lightning. Yeah. Yeah. To me, Jupiter just feels like the fire of the celestial sphere, like the fire that we experience in the sky. It's so powerful. It's like a big boom, It's basically thunder, but how do you illustrate thunder without lightning? Um, so that's what I was getting at with
Mm,
the lightning.
okay, and then Saturn.
I love the Saturn card so
Yeah,
much.
you soften the blow, Anna.
I
with
did. I did. Yes, it's
with
not so heavy and
yeah.
scary.
Oh wow, this is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to accentuate the mastery component to Saturn and the longevity and how masterful work takes time to create, time and experience and wisdom, right? So I
Yeah.
didn't want to like super emphasize the traditional kind of fear around Saturn. I wanted to really accentuate um the masterful quality to it, the sustainable quality
Yeah.
too.
And the flowers again?
Those are St. John's wort
Okay.
flowers.
Yes.
Yes.
And then mullein. Am I correct with that?
That is um
I'm not getting it.
oh my gosh, it just slipped my mind for some reason. I don't
What was-
remember. It's not mullein, it's not spikenard.
is it in the
I'd
book?
have to look at my book. Yes, it's
Okay, let's
definitely
see.
in the book.
Let's see where we are. Okay, Saturn. It's not Solomon Seal. I'm going to show you, and you tell me which one it is. Does it ring a bell?
Oh wow, maybe I didn't include it in the book. That's weird. Oh, no, it's hyssop.
Hyssop. Okay.
Yes, that's it.
What's the power of hyssop?
I actually couldn't tell you right now. I remember doing research and it feeling like the perfect thing. But yeah, I don't remember. I have knowledge in plants. I actually used to make medicine a lot, but I never worked with hyssop.
Okay.
Just remember researching it and being like, yes, that's right.
It looks like it's in the family of mullein just by the shape because of the stalk. But
Mm. Hyssop is very small. I actually have grown it before in my garden, and I remember every time I'd see it, I'd think of Saturn. But yeah, it's quite small. Where mullein is very large, very tall, big,
yes,
big leaves.
yes, I thought this was just a variation of it. Um, Uranus.
Mm. Yeah, that card like kind of made me feel sick while I was
You had a reaction.
I did. I still kind of get it when I look at it, but I think that's just the quality of Uranus, just like let's stir
Really?
shit up and make things uncomfortable.
Wow. You're the first person that I've talked to where a card actually physically moved them, like in a way, but not in a positive way. That's good though, right?
Yeah, it felt very descriptive of that energy. So it's like, okay.
All right. Without going into details, if you feel like stating, if not, all respect. Do you want to share your sun, moon, and rising sign, or do you want to keep that private?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. As I stated, I am a Libra sun. I have an Aries moon, and I'm a Sagittarius rising.
Ah, so double fire air.
Yes,
And
yes.
you have Libra and Aries, so that's an interesting relationship too because of the opposing forces.
Right.
Um, with that being said, this whole process of creating the deck here, using using your astrological placements, um, how was that of influence for you with your signs when it came to creating this deck? Where do you feel those three signs came in most prominent for putting this deck together?
Yeah. Well, this deck, at least the artwork for it, was completed in probably 8 months. It was very quick.
Wow.
So I will say that that was due to my Aries moon, who just likes to just get it.
Yeah. You did this in eight
Um,
months?
yeah,
You did the
for
artwork in
sure.
8 months?
The artwork, yeah. The book probably took a few months too, but yeah, the the entirety of the project was very swift. Um,
Mm,
Even though it took about 2 years to get it from start to finish, the creation process was quite swift. And in terms of the actual artwork, I feel like that's just my Libra coming out. There's a lot of symmetry in my work naturally. I actually really love to work with the kind of basic essence of the mandala,
mhm.
um, to have a focal point, but also a lot of balance.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, most of the cards you'll see this like incredible balance, even though it's not geometrically
Yeah.
symmetrical like a mandala is.
But
Um,
technically, I could see this.
yeah.
Um, when when I went to art school, um, the one thing that was always ingrained in us is that we always have to keep everything pretty much centered because when someone looks at a piece of work, the eye goes right to the center. And then
Mhm.
from there, as an artist, you can work around that center focal point, but start drawing the emphasis of what you're trying to get across in your art, moving upward and downward. There has to be a connection with the way that you start the viewership of your eye, where it goes, and how to keep that eye engaged. You don't, I'm sorry, I'm going technical here, but I just
No, I
remember
love it.
very clearly that to keep the viewer focused on the artwork is that they need that center point, and there needs to be other elements that are connected from top to bottom so that the eye returns to the center and that it keeps that eye moving, like it just keeps looking, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, right? Because you can do this, you draw the eye here and the eye goes here. I spend more time here because there's not really too much to look here. This
Right.
is what you need, you know? And then there we go. Your eye's here, and then you have these little elements of the arrow. So your eye just kind of travels around. So I like the movement. It's not like you're focused on one thing and then everything else is a little small and it's not too Um,
Right.
it becomes a little less of an interest. But here, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're
Yeah,
aware.
I wanted all of the symbols I included to speak loudly, for themselves. I didn't want just one to kind of dominate.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I that's again the Libra balance. I
Yeah.
wanted to represent all these symbols.
Yeah, when you said that, here, I haven't shown did I show Mercury? I don't think I did. Mercury's another beautiful one too.
Yeah, my favorites for sure.
Yeah. This is mint?
That is slippery elm,
I'm
actually.
just not doing I just don't know my friends.
It's
Um,
okay. And they're not like realistically drawn. They are,
okay.
just drawn from my mind's eye. So yeah, slippery elm. I really loved that was a correspondence to Mercury because of Mercury's like slippery nature. It's
Mm,
very like sleight of hand.
the trickster.
uh the trickster,
Yeah.
exactly.
But also the master. When
Mhm.
we think about the magician, and I'm sorry, going back to those elements again, or the suits, cups, swords, pentacles, and wands, it's working, mastering how to use those tools to learn and grow and to face challenges. Mercury's very very important. It's the third planet. I shouldn't say the third planet, but we have the sun, moon, and then Mercury. So we're closely connected to that planet with its energy. Um, and that's another misnomer about Mercury retrograde. Doesn't mean everything's going to end crazy or whatnot. It's just telling us to slow down this energy, put more
Mhm.
thought um, during this time when there's a retrograde happening. So, um,
Indeed. And it's the only personal planet that's associated with the air element, and
you're
I
right.
think as a culture, we are so in our minds. I
Yeah.
mean, we're very disconnected from our bodies, but yeah, I think that's why the Mercury retrogrades freak people out so much, is because they're already in their mind. And it's like, oh no, there's going to be disruption there.
It doesn't help
um,
too that, there are all these posts. It's like Mercury retrograde, get ready to lock your doors and unplug things before, they run out, or, just be
mm,
extra, just be mindful. That's all that it is. Just be aware. And so I take any retrograde with a grain of salt. So, and
me
if you just
too.
slow,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, retrogrades, I've mentioned it to people, it's just a slowing down of energy. Okay. It's the illusion
Right.
that the planet's going backwards, which it really isn't. But it's just slowing down this energy because we're seeing something, there's something that's different, that's shifting. And so we just need to slow down. We don't want to keep going fast while something's moving quickly because that's going to cause confusion, and
Yes.
unclarity.
Right.
So
It's an invitation to slow down, and whether we accept that invitation or not will depend on like how we experience that retrograde.
yeah,
If we have resistance to the slowing down period, then we're gonna feel the effects of that.
yeah, yeah. I think right now, I think Uranus is still in retrograde in my sign. Um, Let me see here really quick since we're talking about retrogrades very quickly. Um, I want to touch base with you. Actually, we're doing good. Um, Only retrograde is actually the nodes. And
Yeah,
it's,
I thought.
yeah, I'm doing it sidereally. Um, but right now it's showing that the North Node is retrograde in Pisces. Western astrology, it's Aries. So it's retrograding right now, and then it goes direct. Actually, goes direct on the 14th, the North
Mhm.
Node, sidereally. Um, and I'm guessing it is the same Western, but it's just in the different sign. So when it moves direct, it'll be direct. And but with that aside, you have a deck that you're working on. So let's touch base on that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I was just gonna say it's all about the alchemical journey. And last year, I actually was a part of this amazing mastermind group that was focused on alchemy, and we were kind of going through each step together and comparing our experiences, and just it was like a big experiment. It was
wow.
really amazing. But yeah, I kind of just committed to myself that I would create a painting to represent that step before I moved on to the next step while I was a part of that group. And the actual creation of these paintings really solidified each step for me on a very internal psychic level. And so it was kind of like the gateway opening into it was when I started the painting. And by the time I was finished with it, it was like the gateway closed. And so I was ready to start, the next gateway. Um, and yeah, so I ended this experience with 7 pieces of art that were very, very much centered around the traditional imagery of alchemy, the traditional symbols, and they're really, really powerful. And I was considering just making that the altar card deck. These 7 pieces speak for themselves, and they're going to be supportive of anybody who goes on an alchemical journey. But I decided I actually wanted to create another element to it, which was I wanted to illustrate a guide through that step. So I'm actually tapping into mythology, and I'm yeah, I'm using mythology and mythological figures, different ones, to become a guide for each step into the alchemical process. And so, yeah, I'm like just weaving in this other element that feels really good and just very aligned with the entire experience that I had. And then I'm also weaving in an element of archetypes. So there's going to be essentially 3 pieces for each step. One will be our guide. One is the traditional symbolism of alchemy that you'll just put on your altar. And the third is the archetype that is unlocked from going through that step, through that
Oh,
gateway.
nice.
Yeah. And I'm using the imagery of the mandala a lot, or the format of the mandala in this deck more than the celestial influence deck. And that's really kind of at the core of my work, is allowing all these pieces to almost be a study of the self, to represent these different archetypes within ourselves, and the mandala is a symbol of the self.
Yes.
So I love overlapping that imagery.
Would the design of the deck be similar to the celestial influence size wise? Are you going to keep a similar format or change it up a little bit?
I changed it up. They're actually going to be 5x7 cards, so they're going to be
My.
large.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I might scale them down, but I kind of want them to be large on your altar. And they're very detailed, so I think it's important to keep the size to scale.
More detailed than this? More information?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Say no more, because it's nice to get a little taste of, the creative process when it comes to a deck. But for me, I'm just like, let's keep the rest a surprise. But I want to ask, do you have 7 pieces you said completed? Did I
At
miss
this point, I
anything?
actually have about 10 pieces completed.
Okay. And what's the entire amount of cards?
Yeah, there's going to be 21,
Okay.
21 pieces in total.
So you're halfway there.
Mhm.
Um, End of the year, you were saying by fall?
Yeah, by fall, I think that the entire project will be out. I'm
Okay.
working on creating 2 paintings each month, and I'm actually sharing them with my Patreon group for anybody who's interested. Not sharing them with the public until it's out the door.
Wow. Um, 5 by 7. I have a tarot deck, Anna, where the cards are about, I think they're a little bit under 5 by 7. They're between 4 by 6 and 5 by 7. And there's a lot of information. So I'm happy this particular creator made the deck as large as it was, or as it is. She did get the deck published smaller, um,
Hmm.
but the big ones, just the larger size, is just that much more. It's just difficult for doing large readings for obvious reasons, because it's just so large. But
For sure.
I I feel that the more information you can get, and that's why I like the larger decks, I can chime in more, because as you were talking, I'm looking at everything, and you see so much more, and it slows down the process of how you connect to each and every image when you
Mhm.
have cards that are larger like this. When they're smaller, you can do the same, but uh, for me, there are times I do miss something, and I have to go back, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see that before. But
Yeah.
here, um, I just like, because it's right there, you know. So
Yeah, it's really important to me. Part of the reason I do what I do is because symbols are the language of our subconscious minds. And if you're working with images, you want to be able to really take in those symbols
yeah.
on a subconscious level,
Mhm.
let them really like penetrate you. And I think that's a lot harder with small images.
Yeah.
It almost hurts to like try to look that closely for things that could just be readily accessible. And yeah, so I think that's why I'm looking forward to a larger deck.
I'd be surprised if you were to ever do a smaller deck. I don't know if you could actually do it, could you? It may not
You
feel right.
never know. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's interesting because I actually work really small, like all the original paintings of these cards were 3.5 by 7.5. I didn't scale them at all.
Well,
And this new deck, I'm working at a max of 10 by 14 inches.
okay.
But yeah, I Yeah, I really feel like the larger images for the purpose that I'm creating them for is really crucial.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's this this is a deck that you can't really shuffle. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Um, Let me see here, because I
I
have
shuffle
long,
them. You just shuffle them differently.
yeah, I have long hands, or long fingers, so I could do this. And
Yeah,
that's
that's how I
fine.
do it.
Um, let's see here. I never shuffled these because of the size, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, and the cardstock is thick.
It has a little bit of weight. I was thinking, because there's not so many cards in this deck.
Mhm.
You can, but they won't shuffle in entirely.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that you can do when it comes to working with larger decks is, my cousin used to do this. When we used to do playing cards, not tarot cards. But she would always do a wash. I call it the wash, where
Yeah.
she takes the decks and or the cards, and she just a lot of people don't like doing this because it may ruin the artwork. Just put a cloth on the table when you're doing this, and just yeah, just kind of use your hands and just kind of mesh the cards. And this may be hard too with this, but you can somehow get those cards together, and then you could just pull one card out. Um, so there are ways around it. There are ways to work with
And
larger size
fanning
decks.
them.
Fanning,
Yeah. I
yes.
like to fan them too.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Miss Anna, anything else that we should know about? Anything coming up that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, I'm actually teaching a class. It is not necessarily around art, but it is about the power of symbols. And um, it's actually all about creating your own personal myth. And this personal myth is something that you will be creating from metaphor and the power of visual imagery to rewrite stories that aren't serving you anymore.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, this is a practice that I learned a couple of years ago, and that has really helped me unlock a lot of potential that was just laying dormant before due to fears and old stories that were keeping me blocked. And yeah, so this class is just one thing that I offer in my Patreon group. There's actually a free class all about the creative power of symbols there if you are interested in listening to it. And in it, you'll actually create your own mandala.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really, really fun. There's a lot going on in my Patreon group if anybody would like to check it out.
Yeah, I put the link to your website, and I just oh, here we go. I want to put the link here to Patreon. There we go. I do have it in the description of our discussion. But
Cool.
here is Anna's Patreon.
Yeah, I love my Patreon group so much. And at one tier, you're actually able to get a 5x7 altar card for your altar for the zodiacal season that we're in every
Oh.
month. And it's really, really fun.
Do you have them for all the seasons? Are they already done, or are you changing it every year based on how you're feeling? Like it's still aligned with the seasons, but you're doing a different painting.
Well, this year I'm probably releasing what I've already got made,
Okay.
and it's vast. I have a lot of interpretations of the signs and the planets and whatnot. But yeah, as time evolves, I'll be incorporating different kinds of images that are new.
Excellent. Last question to ask you is where do you see your practice going right now? How's it currently shaping and forming? But where do you see it going? Where do you feel you would like to direct your practice more towards?
Yeah, I'm feeling just really inspired by alchemy right now. I know that we've touched on it quite a bit already, but that process feels like this primordial wisdom that I didn't have a name for in the past. And I just love the art of transformation. So I'm really sinking into that, and I'm sinking into the symbolism there that is so rich, and allowing that to really shape my practice.
Okay, wonderful. So there you have it. We have Anna Bosquet with us. We've been talking about her deck, The Celestial Influence. This is the guidebook. There will be a guidebook for her next incarnation. Did you say the title of it yet or no?
Of this deck,
The
it's
one that
still
you
going
want
to be celestial influence. Oh, the one that I'm creating
to
now.
yeah.
I believe it will be called the alchemical self.
Okay. Working title. Working
Working
title.
title. Yes.
Yes.
It feels right though.
I like it. I like it because here's one other thing. Can we work with this new deck that's coming up with the celestial influence? Can we merge those two decks together?
Absolutely. Each step of alchemy is ruled by a different planet, one of the seven personal planets. And And there are associations with the different signs of the zodiac as well. I like to personally align my astrolog or my alchemical practice with the current celestial influences at play. So currently, well, we're about to move into dissolution, which is ruled by Jupiter, and we're about to enter Pisces season. So it's a perfect time to dive into that second step of alchemy of dissolution during Pisces season. So
Oh,
you can definitely work on them simultaneously.
it's good because I feel when artists create decks that there should be some connection of some sort with the previous decks, that you can work with them. Like there are decks that are tarot and also oracle decks all in one. And I like that too, because then it gives you that option to read with that deck in a more oracle sense. And with your new deck coming out, that would be great, because then you can do the planets, the signs, and the alchemical process or the alchemical workings for each of those planets. Now, alchemically, are there placements for the signs, or is it just for the planets?
There are placements for the signs in each step of alchemy as well. I haven't explored it that much just because it's secondary to the planetary ruler. But I will be doing a lot more digging into all of those connections, and I'm really excited about that too.
Okay, is that would be great. That would be something that I can really look further into. I know the Doth deck incorporates all of that
Oh
um,
yeah.
with those with that particular deck. But I like this because I like how it's separated, and you can work with planetary energy if you need planetary magic. You can work exclusively with the planets, and then the signs. You could bring in that energy, the characteristics of that sign with all the different planets, and then alchemically, when your deck is ready, that would be a wonderful amalgamation of all three.
Oh
And
yeah.
when that deck comes out, I'm definitely having you back so you can walk us through the whole process,
Great.
and we can all see how it's coming together. Um,
Awesome.
Anything else, Anna, that you want to share with us?
No, I don't think so. I
Okay.
feel complete. I'm really, really grateful that you had me on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. So hold on one moment. I want to thank everyone who was watching and who will watch later on. Go and support Anna's breath. I got her website. I'm going to show it here. Everything is also in the description. This is her website, and then her Patreon, which I have listed in the description as well. I believe I did. I'll double check it. If not, I'm going to add it, Anna. Go and see what she's doing. You know, I love Patreon. It's something that I started, but I never followed through with it. I think it's something that I need to start putting more emphasis on, because I want to create content more for people to learn from instead of just showing decks. And there's nothing wrong with that, but for me, I have a specific feeling that I like to share information about certain things. And I like to have that support somehow. So I think Patreon's a wonderful way to support artists when they're doing something like this, to support their work, and also, where they want to go with their work. So take a look at Anna's breath. Anna, thank you again. Look forward to seeing you again, hopefully by the end of the year when the deck is ready. Subscribe. You don't have a channel though, right?
No, I don't really use YouTube very, very much.
Okay. All right. I just want to make certain. Um, and I will be back very soon. I just don't know when. So hit the notification bell, like and subscribe for any content that I've had. And again, let's have some wonderful support towards Anna and her work. And you can stay tuned to see what she is up to. All righty. Everyone have a wonderful week. Happy Chinese New Year of the Dragon to those who are in the year of the dragon. And I wish you all a wonderful week. I will see you again soon.